Okay, so it's really very important that we must need to have an IP address when wanted to connect it to internet, and that is like an address to contact you to something or access something or trace something, anything it is. So every single device which needs to connect internet or which is connected to internet will have or is provided with an IP address. And currently we are dealing with IPv4 addresses. Okay, and these IPv4 addresses works with the space of a 32-bit. It just works with the space of 32-bit, and they are actually just a matter of 4 billion. Okay, 4 billions of IP addresses we have. This is what we have discussed yesterday, but not to worry. We will just go through from the beginning. And the thing is, of course, we have 4 billion IP addresses, but how many number of people having, connecting to internet? There are across the globe n number of people trying to access internet every day, and from multiple devices like laptops, servers, maybe mobiles and all. So we are actually having an issue with these IP addresses, number of IP addresses we are utilizing. So very soon we'll be having a shortage of IP addresses. So people are working with these IP addresses, and then they are going to have another type of addresses. Those are IPv6 addresses. So these are just different type of IP addresses we are having, and these IPv6 addresses, the use of these is they are scalable. Okay, scalable in the sense it's not like we can go and extend that, but we by default have n number of like 340. I just said this into 10 to the power of 10 to the power of 12. I mean, into 10 into 12 digits, you can see. Okay, so many digits of IP addresses we have with us. So that is what the scalability I'm saying. So it's not that we go extend, but we without extend can utilize these IP addresses because it is just a number which we cannot read. Such a huge number of IP addresses we are going to have with respect to this, and they work with 128-bit space. Okay. What do they work? Just IPv4 addresses work with 32-bit versions, but here these things will work up to 128-bit space. So that is what the usage of these IPv6 addresses. But the challenge is, since they are still under maintenance or still under preview or just like that, in AWS we don't have full support for these IPv6 addresses. So Amazon will not suggest you to go with this IPv6. It will always provide you IPv4 addresses only, and especially about EC2 in a certain VPC. EC2 instances in a certain VPC will always be provided with IPv4 addresses only. It's because we don't have full support for this at the moment. So that is the point. And it can have Route 53 but not full support. So you can, in Route 53 you can have this. And why are we discussing all these things, IP addresses and all and all? You got any idea? See, to tell you that when you wanted to connect to the internet or when you wanted to access something, anything, it is a website or a particular share which has some files in it, anything it is created on a server, and that server will have certain IP address. When we wanted to access that, we must need to, it's not only that we should have a certain IP address, we should have certain address, but it is also that when we wanted to communicate, the other thing whom we have to connect should also have a particular address. Then only we will be able to go communicate with that. What is that means? So it is a particular link which can be accessed by we people, so that the files or website is reachable for us. So how do we do that? We have seen when an ELB is created or autoscaling, anything it is, we have by default provided with certain link, and that link wasn't user friendly, so that it was clearly mentioned. Okay, the user, the DNS name which is provided when we have created an ELB or an S3 bucket wasn't user friendly or Cloudfront distribution. So that is just an A record alias record. So it was suggested for us to go with a C name which is user friendly. So what does this IP addresses do or DNS name do? So DNS actually a domain name which helps us to convert human friendly domain names into an internet protocol IP addresses. So there will be an address, every single thing will have, that is internet protocol address, that's nothing but IP address. And that IP address, with respect to that IP address, there will be a link created to access something, and this domain name converts, okay, the user friendly, human friendly domain name into that link. So what we have to do in this case, we actually first have to create a domain name, and that needs to be registered, because only to have the uniqueness. It's because you see, whenever you have a particular, for example, it's just like AWS.com, for example. So when we have AWS.com created by us, and somebody else also do that, it will be a difficult thing to access. So when we say AWS.com, which address it needs to go and ping, so that in order to confuse that, we always have to register our domain names, then they should be unique. So where do we have to register? Okay, since we need to have a uniqueness, the domain names are to be registered with, okay, a particular thing like internet, okay, registered with, it is actually a particular database, you can say, or a particular thing. That's what we have to always connect with or registered with. It is internet and service of ICANN. ICANN means, these are the two things. Okay, ICANN, you can just Google it, you will have a huge page about it, icon and all, so that you'll just come to know what does this do. When we register our domain names, this icon will always enforces the uniqueness. So to have a unique domain name, it will always check, okay, you have a particular domain name registered and somebody is going to do that, it will suggest, oh, this domain name is already registered by somebody, so you choose another one. So with that, the uniqueness is maintained. Okay, and to register a particular domain name, we have many popular sites in that, which is very popular is GoDaddy.com. So this is what the GoDaddy.com is, the thing we have to go and register. And it's not only that, there are so many websites we have other than GoDaddy.com, something like 123-reg.co.uk and all. You find so many websites if you just search for to register your domain names. And when we go with domain names, there are actually of two different types. The domain names are of two different types. One is top level domains and second level domain names. What do you mean by top level domain names and second level domain names? Understand this way. Any link which has just a one single word after dot, like .com, .edu, .gov, okay, something like that, etc., etc. One single word after dot, then it is top level domain name. And in case other than one single a word, if it is having the combination of two different words after dot, a word just before the last word, just like .co.in, .co.uk, .gov.in, okay, .com, .eu, something like that. If you have two different words after dot, then those are known as second level domain names. Okay, top level domain names and second level domain names. Just to have an idea about, we are discussing all these things because this is all about something networking concepts and all. And to understand about all these things even more and better way, we need to have another course. We need to learn another course, that's DNS and networking concepts, CCNA. Then we will understand things very clearly. But try to understand what we are talking, what I'm just discussing there, because I'm just saying what is needed for us. Okay. And yeah, as I said, there are two different type of domain names: top level domain names and second level domain names. These domain names, okay, the top level domain names are controlled by Internet Assigned Number Authority. What is that? Internet Assigned Number Authority, IANA. You can just Google about this ICANN and IANA. You will get this huge information about these two things, okay, and can find out. But what is IANA? The IANA is actually the root zone database, or a database of all they both have same port number.
DNS has 53 number port number.
DNS
has a 53 number.
Yeah, actually, when it comes to our AWS, we generally know it as Route 53. It's because always the DNS works on port number 53. Like how we have port number 22 for SSH for connecting or accessing Linux machines or Unix machines, and RDP port for accessing Windows machines. Similarly, everything whichever you wanted to connect, anything you wanted to connect, you must need to have a port number. Then only you will be able to. It's nothing but it acts like a tunnel to make you access that particular thing. So here DNS works on DNS also have certain port number that it always works on port number 53. So in our AWS, that's what I'm just trying to tell you, that DNS always works on port number 53. So we are going to discuss a topic today is known as Route 53. Okay, so Route 53 is the topic we are going to discuss, and I'm just preparing all the stuff you needed for that. Fine, so you can just Google about IANA and ICANN. You have a lot information provided by people. It's already in there in the internet, so that you can just go through. But for now, you remember ICANN will just enforces the uniqueness of all the domain names registered, and IANA is nothing but Internet Assigned Number Authority. Is actually a root database, root zone database, or simply you can just say database of all the top level domain names. Okay, of all the top level domain names. So suppose let's go and see, there is a particular link. So this is what IANA, you can just go icon, wiki, IANA, transition, all that. Let's go and see. So domain names in this root zone management or domains, in that domains. So this is all about www.iana.org, okay, /domains, and in this root database. So this is all about your domains. Whichever the domain you register with, all that will be maintained here in this database. So this is the database of all the domains you register. So whichever the database, domain you register will be here in this, and for what it is registered, with whom it is registered, and all the information will be here. And about ICANN also the same. What is this? A simple description is given here. You check. The Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers is a non-profit organization that is responsible for coordinating the maintenance and procedure of several databases related to the namespaces so and so. Okay, headquarters is Los Angeles, California, United States, and founder for that is John Postel and all and all. So that's all about ICANN and all and all. You just Google and then you'll get to know what it is, and just simply remember what for these things work. So this is just a database which maintain all the domain names, and this is just something which makes you have a uniqueness or enforces the uniqueness of all the domains. So that's all. You just go through. If you have patience, you can just go and learn so much about these things. There is plenty enough information provided by people, so you will learn all those things. And as I said, when you wanted to register a domain name, we usually go with either, it's very popular. The very popular thing is GoDaddy.com, where you can go and register domains. And of course, it's all part of DNS. Okay, so since DNS work with port number 53, we have our DNS service in Amazon. The DNS service is named by the same number 53, that's Route 53. So what is this? A scalable DNS and domain name registration. So here if you go, it will just let you associate your registered domain name with the existing ELB. Okay, the registered domain name with the existing ELB. That is what it will let you know. So in this, what you have to do first, the moment you go Amazon Route 53, it is always, we are not going to register anything. We are going to manage something with our databases. DNS names. So get started now. We're going to start. Once we start, we need to understand about all these things. Hosted zone, okay, record set and all. So what do you mean by it? But before that, let's understand the related terminology. In that, what we have to understand. So first thing is SOA record. What is this SOA record? The record actually maintains all the information of the domain names registered. The SOA record. So the thing is, whichever the domain name we have which is already registered by us needs to be associated or linked with respect to the DNS name by default provided. So then only it will work. So because how do you understand, how does this domain name understand whom to contact with? When suppose if you say AWS.com, how does that understand which link or which database or which server it needs to go and contact, isn't it? So in order to have a proper confirmation whom it needs to go and contact, we should establish a communication between our ELB with respect to that registered domain name. Then only there will be a proper communication established in between, and when people try to access with respect to that domain name, it will come to our website or our server directly. But without you establish a communication, it is not possible to get the access. It's not needed. It's not so simple that you go register domain name, that's all, or you create your web server and provide it to somebody. It's not that. So you have to establish a communication between. Okay, so for that SOA record, we have to maintain all these things once we create Route 53 tables and all. In that SOA record, what it does, it maintains all the information of the domain name registered, and after that we have another records, that's NS record. We'll just discuss that. So NS record I'm talking about. So what is NS record? NS stands for name server. So NS record is nothing but name server record and are used by top level domains. So whichever the top level domains we have registered with, those can be mentioned here in this NS record. And SOA record, it just maintains on all the domain names registered. And then the main thing which we have understood while we have created ELB. You remember we spoke something about CNAME and a record. Can somebody tell me what is CNAME and what is a record? Yeah? What is CNAME and what is a record? Nobody? Are you all there in the class?
Yeah. Alias record is user friendly.
Okay. Alias record is
Can
user friendly?
no, it's not user friendly. Sorry. Alias CNAME is user friendly actually.
Of course. CNAME is user friendly and alias record is?
It's not user friendly.
Of course. But what they are? What's CNAME and what's alias record?
They are used for the elastic usernames. I mean elastic IP. The name is used for.
Do you remember when we have created an ELB, the link was provided and a default domain name was provided. So can you just tell me what the default domain name which is provided is an alias record, a record or CNAME which is canonical name?
Alias record, sir.
It's an alias record, right? Of course that's not user friendly, but the default DNS name provided when we create something is an alias record. So these alias records are used to map resource records set, okay, hosted zone. So when it comes to our, this Route 53, we work with both of them, alias record and CNAME, because CNAME is user friendly. That's nothing but the registered domain name. It's always user friendly because that is a registered domain name. That's the reason why it is user friendly, because we ourselves think something, okay, our website should be, I mean, based on whatever the website you create, you just registered that. You registered that, okay, it's like itsolutions.com, something like that, because you're going to provide some IT or ittrainings.com, since you're providing some trainings. So ittrainings.com is just user friendly because if the name the name itself mentions what this website is all about. Okay, so it says, okay, IT training. The moment I say IT trainings, you'll just get to know that, okay, there are some trainings provided by somebody. And what and all the trainings you just are provided by the people you wanted to know, then you should access that website and then check all those things. Okay, so that is user friendly because you registered it. But how do you make that IT trainings.com to access or to let you connect your particular website or database? So that is only possible when you establish a communication with the a record. So what is a record? When you create, it's not that you create you register a domain name and that's done. You always have to create a website first thing. If it is a website, if not it's a server, then it is a server you establish. And always whenever something is created, the default domain name created is provided with an alias record, a record. Okay, and these alias records are to be resource record sets, and that, I mean, like used to map resource record sets in our hosted zones. Okay, in these hosted zones we map them to ELB Cloudfront distributions or S3 buckets that are configured as websites. Okay, so all the alias records will be provided to these things, either ELB you create or Cloudfront distribution, we have seen, I hope you all remember the domain names created whenever we have just worked with ELB, Cloudfront distribution and S3 bucket. Remember, whenever a file is uploaded into S3 bucket, and to access that there is a link provided, and you can also create a hosted website on that web hosting. So all that thing, whenever these things are configured as websites, they are provided with an alias record, and those things are to be mapped here in this hosted zone. And canonical names can be used to resolve one domain name to another domain name. What they work with? Canonical names usually are generally used to resolve one domain name to another domain name. Because when we create an ELB or Cloudfront distribution or S3 bucket, there is a default domain name already created, and that domain name is not user friendly. Just because of that, we have gone and we registered another domain name, and that domain name is mapped with this, so that these things will resolve when communication is established. That CNAME is the domain name which resolves one domain name to another domain name, which lets us to connect through that domain name to another domain name. So that's all about CNAME and alias record. That's what I said. We will be discussing about these things in detail in Route 53. So CNAMEs can't be used for naked domain names. What do you mean by naked domain names? So naked domain names must be A records, and domain names without www are called naked domain names. Anything which doesn't have this www in the beginning are known as naked domain names. So this Amazon is not having www in the front, so it is not a naked. It is actually not a naked domain name. So when we wanted to say it's a naked domain name, it must need to have www in the beginning. That's what we say. And what are we talking about? CNAMEs are to be used for naked domain names only, and domain names without www are known as naked domain names. Naked domain names must be a record. Must be a record only. And in our Route 53, okay, there is always a limit, and the limit is 50 domain names. You can just have 50 domain names registered and associated with things. Of course, you can always extend. There is always an option of extending something here in our AWS, but initially there will be a limit set for all the resources, and to increase that limit you have to raise a request, and the default limit for these domain names is 50 domain names in AWS. And alias research records can save time as Amazon Route 53, okay, and automatically recognizes the changes in the record sets, which refers to alias resources records. So for that, what we have to go, we must have to go and create something in this. So we are trying to understand what Route 53 is all about. Okay. Let's go create hosted zone here. And I say create hosted zone. We have no hosted zones created at the moment. So we are actually trying to go create hosted zones in this. So this is what it will provide you. But what is this hosted zone? the domain name you have to provide. A hosted zone is a container that holds information about how you want to route traffic for a domain such as example.com and its subdomains. So you can just say that IT trainings.com here, the domain name. Comment you wanted to do, just you can give that comment, and then it's public hosted. There are two different type of hosted zones, public hosted zone or private hosted zones. What do you mean by public and private? The public hosted zone and private hosted zone, which are nothing but, okay, the public and private hosted zones are nothing but. Public means whenever you wanted to communicate with the external world, you just go with the public hosted zone. If not, within the organization, you wanted to have a particular domain, okay, in the organization also will have certain domain names. With respect to that, you will be able to communicate with your servers and all. So they always should be under one domain. Then only they are reachable in your network. So when you create a particular isolated network for your organization, that will have a certain domain, so that all those servers or all those resources are placed under that one domain, and then when people try to access, they are restricted with respect to these things, whether they are authenticated to access all of that or not. So public means internal in an organization for an Amazon VPC, and private means that, and public means when you wanted to communicate with the external world. But for public domain name, public hosted zone, you must need to have a registered domain name. That's something like this. When you don't have any registered domain name, you'll not be able to go create something. So only it's always you go try with private hosted zone. Okay. So when you say private hosted zone, you must need to give VPC ID. So what is the VPC ID? We are currently in Sydney region. So we'll just go that provide that VPC, the default one. If not default, if you have any special thing, you can just go create that as well. You can just go create your particular VPC and provide over there. And you say that and provide yes, create yes, automatically the hosted zone will be created here with the domain name, type, record set, count, comment, all that will be listed here. So we are actually trying to create a private hosted zone. See what it is. A private hosted zone determines how traffic is routed within an Amazon VPC. Your resources are not accessible outside the VPC. You can use any domain name. So what do we do when you create internal domain name? You need not to give the total things are .com, something like that. You have to say local to work with internally, .local or .group.local, something like that. These are the different type of domains you can just say. So when you go create, and what is this? Check. To use private hosted zone, you must set the following Amazon VPC settings to true. Enable DNS hostnames, enable DNS support. So when you say that, it will be. Now let's go create. The moment we create, you see here, there are two different type of record sets are created here. So IT trainings.local with name service and SOA record. SOA record, that's what we have mentioned, right? SOA record will always maintain things, and NS record will have all the namespace records. Here all the possible things. Now you see NS AWS.DNS co.uk.com.org.net, all those things are connected to this IT trainings.local. So that is all about SOA. SOA record is nothing but it maintains the information of your domain names registered, and NS is nothing but namespace or name server records that are used by top level domain names. So these are the top level domain names .com, .org, .net. But this .co.uk is actually not a top level domain name, but can also be taken like this. What you have to do when you just create a public domain name or public hosted zone, in that situation, all these NS records should be mapped by going to whichever the site you create your or you register. You register your domain name. You should go. For example, if you register your domain name with GoDaddy.com, you should go there. Okay, go to GoDaddy and then map everything in that. These all the namespace name server records you should just map with respect to that domain name which is already created, so that there will be a communication established. That is what you possibly have to do. So now what we have done is an internal domain name we have created, internal DNS. So we have seen about different types, and the name what we have given is ittrainings.local, just like that. Then we have just created a hosted zone and record set. So we know that alias resource records, as I just said, a record can save time as Amazon Route53 automatically recognize the changes. What do you mean by that? Whenever you do some changes to your environment and to just make some necessary things in that, and automatically those are recognized by these A records, and with refers to alias resource record. But ELBs do not have predefined IPv4 addresses. Resolved to them using a DNS name only. You remember whenever we have created an ELB, elastic load balancer, we have never provided any IP addresses in that. Do you remember? What we have to do is we must have to go create an ELB first. Then only we can just map that with respect to this. So let's see. Quickly we go create an ELB. How do we create an ELB? Go to EC2. Okay, we have taken Sydney region's VPC. So in the Sydney region, let's go to load balancers. Create load balancer. Okay, just I'm giving some name, default one. This is known to you, right? Okay, for now I'll just go and leave it as it is, index.html only. And of course there are no currently running instances. I'm just leaving as it is. I wanted a particular thing. So this is what the DNS name. I'm copying it, and here in this. So, but before that, what do? We just create an instance. That instance we have to provide this. Don't worry, you'll understand very soon. Oh, I actually need to have a script here because we are not going to launch that instance. What is the script I'm going to have? The basic thing, whichever we usually have, that is hash /bin/bash. So next is gpd y. Correct me if I'm going something wrong with my script. Service gpd start, then then I just wanted to create a web page directly here because I don't want it to create and then keep it in S3 bucket and then copy it to my disk. But what I'll do, I'll just directly go create some web page here. How do I do that? Echo. To do that, you know what you have to do. Echo is the command space. In quotes, you have to mention the information, whatever you wanted to say. I'll just say something like that. And that should be copied to where www html, and what is the page you are going to create? index.html. Okay, index.html. So this is what the page I'm creating, the web page I'm creating. So next, next. Fine. We've also created our ELB, right? And to that ELB, we will go and add this instance. See, always whenever you play something in here, make sure you just delete everything in the end. Okay, so there is one running instance. I'm just going to add that. It's out of service. Let it come to in service. What is that health check we have provided? 9 seconds, 10 seconds. Okay, for 3 times. Instance. Yeah. See, it's in service because that index page is reachable. It's going and pinging to that index page, so it's fine. It's working fine. Now what we do? We'll just test this initially. Okay. What am I? What is the output we need to get? Hello world, we got it, right? So our script is working fine. We could get that output. The index page, whatever we have created, has come up. Now we'll just check the same thing with respect to the our ELB. We should get the same thing. Okay. I'll just paste it here in this. Yes, we got the theme. And with respect to, the Route53 domain name we are creating, see, people will find very difficulty to remember this. Who remembers this DNS name, DNS LB, the number .ap southeast -2 ELB Amazon. It's really very difficult for us to remember, right? So what about the thing we have created, ittrainings.local? That is the simple domain name which everybody can remember. I just provide. Okay, it's like, if it becomes popular, okay, there are trainings provided by somebody. That website is ittrainings.com. It's quite easy for you to access, right? But when I provide, okay, there are some trainings provided, and then the website is this EDNS, LB, and all and all and all. If I say, it's really very difficult for people to remember that. So what now I'm going to do, what our aim is, the domain name we have created is to be mapped with this, and when we check, we should get this hello world as output. But you see, DS, we are actually, checking by creating an internal hosted zone. Internal hosted zone will always work within the same network, not externally. When you create internal hosted zone, those things will be always tested internally, which means, within one organization. So within one organization, in the sense, the server from which you are trying to connect should have the same private IP, same series of private IP address. Okay, the same series of private IP address you should have, then only you'll be able to access that. So how is that possible? You just go create another, this is your activity. You go create another instance of Windows OS, launch that server. In that server, because the two instances when we create will have same IP address, private IP address, same series of private IP address. So from that Windows machine, open a web page and type this ittrainings.local, and then finally you should find this. What is that output? Hello world, or whatever the thing you provide. So how do we do that? So we have launched an instance, then created an ELB, then went to the route 53 that you have to select with DNS management. That's what we have done. Then create a hosted zone. After once it is created, so we went with a private hosted zone that is internal for internal communication. Then create root set record. So this root set record we need to create. When you create this root set record, see it's already mentioned here, ittrainings.local. So in here you have to provide, you see, IPv4 addresses. Of course you can take IPv6 addresses here, but that will not support. Okay, because we don't have full support here, so do not go with that. Better you stay with IPv4 addresses only. And in this, what you have to do, alias record you have to mention, and okay, so say yes. Alias target, what is the alias target? You should mention your load balancer here. Of course currently it is not listing anything because but you can just go directly paste your load balancer here. I'll paste which we have copied. So that's our load balancer. We have pasted here and the ID is provided to us. Then routing policy, we need to understand what's routing policy. There are multiple routing policies we have. Then target health, let it be simple as that. Okay, but let's understand what are routing policies. So we have multiple routing policies: simple, weighted, latency, failover, and geolocation. So which means these are the different routing policies which lets us to work properly with respect to our domain names created, DNS names assigned. So simple means it always default routing policies and for a new record set, and this is mostly used for single resource that perform functions for our domain. Okay, whichever the domain we provide, for that it is used. And do not provide anything here www something like that. Let it be as simple as that. Okay, because that ittrainings.local we have already taken, and let it go as simple as. Then when with respect to this simple, whenever you select simple routing policy, there is no intelligence built in this response, Route 53 response to DNS queries that are required. What do you mean by intelligence? It's nothing but it is not that smart enough with respect to other routing policies like weighted, latency, failover, and GL. Let's understand one by one so that you'll understand what is the intelligence created in that. When it is weighted, the policy let you split, okay, your traffic on different weight assigned, which is nothing but in multiple regions. If you create are multiple availability zones, of course the DLP we have created for multiple availability zones, but in case if you create your environment in multiple regions and then you wanted to, like for example, you have clients sitting in US region and as well as in Sydney region, and you have created this what to say Route 53 DNS name, and when people are trying to access which region it should go, the request, if you find many of your users sitting in US region, when somebody access, then you can set the weightage saying that okay, the maximum request should go like 70% of the request should go to US region website, and 30% of the request should go to Sydney region or APAC region website, something like that. You can set the weightage. So based on the weightage you set, you can just allow your traffic to distribute. So that's what weighted routing policy and after that we have latency. What do you mean by latency? Okay, if there is any delay in accessing your website, then that is known as latency. That allows the traffic to low the latency network. Okay, so the traffic will always be distributed to lowest latency network. So again, here you have to have multiple this ones environments created. In that, again, I'll just take the same example. Your clients sitting in both the regions, Sydney and as well as US. So when people try to access your website, in order to reduce your latency, how this Route 53 DNS name should understand, okay, it should be very smart enough. Okay, it can recognize and send the traffic. If somebody is trying to access from a PAC region, they should go to Sydney locations environment. If somebody is trying to access from US region, it goes to US region environment. So that's how the traffic should always be routed to the lowest latency network, and it needs to create the latency resource record set. With respect to that, it will understand which region has lowest latency network. With respect to that, it will understand when you create latency resource record set, people, I mean, like this route table will understand. It will just check, cross check, okay, which region is closer to me. Based on that, it will understand, okay, this region is closer to me, so that the request should be sent to this region only. First, it will just identify from which region the request has come, and for that request, which region is nearby. So to that, it will send the traffic. That is what latency is, nothing but. Are you getting my things, you all guys? One yes, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So please interrupt me anything you are having any confusion with. This and all are important for us. When you just create a high available HA environment, highly available environment. Okay, so we're done with latency and then failover. So can somebody tell me what do you mean failover? I hope you can guess what means by failover. Okay. If there is anything fail, fine. Anybody? Fail to access one particular, okay. So let me discuss this way. Again, I'll just go with the same example. You have created your environment in 2 different regions. Okay. If one region network or environment or website is not accessible, not properly accessible, then what about that particular region's people when they are trying to access this? Okay, for example, Amazon.com is there. You wanted to purchase something with respect to Amazon.com. You are trying to access, okay, maybe by being in India. So when it is in India, it will go to nearby APAC region's website or servers. When those servers are not reachable, then your site is not reachable. So how do you do that? How do you come across of that? You said that site is not reachable and then your business will go down. So in that situation, we go with failover, which means if one region's website is not working, automatically all the traffic from that region should be sent to another region's website, whichever is active and nearby. So that's what failover. If one region is not reachable or not responsive, then it should be very smart enough to identify which is the nearby region accessible and then the traffic to be sent to that. So that's what failover. And the last one is geolocation. Okay, by using same Amazon.com, if you just try to purchase something by being in India, okay, everything, all the objects prices will be mentioned in terms of rupees. But if you do that same, okay, by being in US, the prices are listed in dollars. How is that possible? Okay, so that is possible by selecting the routing policy geolocation. What happens when you select geolocation? It lets you choose where our traffic is, sent based on the location of users. For example, if somebody is trying to access from India, the request should be sent to the servers or website created in Indian region, so that they get everything in their local language. You can also set language, currency, and all and all. Okay, so it sets all the user friendly websites. So this is how you can set geolocation routing policy. So these are the different type of routing policies we have, but in all that, simple is the only one which doesn't have any intelligence created over there. So we go with simple only. Currently what we have done, we have created a hosted zone. In that hosted zone we have provided our website DNS name that is maybe registered. Since I do not have any registered domain name, I'm not going to show you any public uh, domain name or public hosted zones, but we can do that by testing. Yeah, when we want to test, you can just do that by taking the internal one, and internal should always be dot local or dot group dot local. You don't provide dot com or dot co dot in or co dot US or UK, something like that, because they're always public. When you wanted to test something internally, then you always have to give dot local only. So simple. Then what I've done, I just went to alias, said yes, then mentioned our this one. What is this? Enter fully qualified domain name, FQDN we say. In real time we say FQDN. So what do you remember? You remember FQDN is nothing but fully qualified domain name, and of an ELB or load balancer or S3 website or Elastic, Beanstalk or CNAME or Cloudfront distribution. Anything you wanted to provide, you can provide here. Then automatically it will provide you alias hosted zone ID, then route 53, then say yes. Evaluation target, health check, you wanted to check some health checks here, set health checks, you can just do that, but I don't want you to do that anything. Let's keep things very simple. Create. The moment I create, okay, alias thing is created. So now when I just say ittrainings.local, it should go and ping this load balancer, that alias name. Okay. Then automatically you should get this output. So where we are here in this. And if it is a registered domain, if you are creating a public hosted zone, then what you have to do? You should go take all these name server records. All of them should be copied and pasted in that website where you registered your domain name. You should map them. Then automatically externally you can communicate with that. That we will see. I'll try to create a domain name. I'll try to register one for me, and if I can register, then I'll show you by creating a public one. But what you do is you just create something like this locally, okay, then create another instance, a Windows instance. After creating that Windows instance, take a web page, and in that web page type ittrainings.local, enter, then you should get this. If you get this, then you are you got succeeded in your testing. So this is all about Route 53 dear. And the other thing what I wanted to show you is public hosted zone. That public hosted zone, I'll just let you know. I'll just hopefully, certainly I'll just show you. Maybe in the very next class or may not be, but I'll definitely try to show you by creating a public hosted zone. You clear with that, everybody? Any doubts so far, whatever we have discussed? Weighted routing policy. See, weighted routing policy is nothing but the traffic distribution. How do this traffic to be distributed? First, suppose your request, your users, you have many of your users sitting in US region, okay, and in that region, if you send, for example, the latency issue, it should not come any latency. When many of the people are sitting in US region and your environment is created in both the regions like US and as well as in PAC region, and all the requests, all the requests come to, if you just mention simple, and all the requests, if they come to APAC region's website, from where they are trying to access a website from US region, and where the requests are routed or diverted to the APAC region's websites. So obviously they'll have a latency issue in that situation. So you can set a weightage which site should have more amount of traffic to be routed and which region website should have less amount of traffic to be routed. So you can just set in that, okay, 10% of traffic should be sent to APAC region's website and 90% of traffic should be sent to US region website, because my clients, many of my clients sitting in US region. So that's how you can set the weightage, the traffic's weightage, which region should hit more traffic, which region should hit less traffic. So that is what weighted. The distribution of traffic to multiple or single region with multiple edges is possible when you select weighted routing policy. You clear with that? It's nothing. So we usually, it's going to Google's, but you take a web server, a Windows instance. In that Windows instance, you just go with this .local, then you should get that. Okay. So any other doubts you wanted to clarify here? Yeah. If there is nothing, then let's conclude our session for today. Yes? Shall we? Okay, so what's your today's activity? What will you do? Tell me please. What's your today's activity? What are you going to do? And then share your screens. Create Route 53, hosted zones and record sets. Then you should map your load balances with that. An instance you have to create with a particular script. I hope you can find that script. Nothing difficult. What's happening? So please, Prashant, I did not get any screens. from you recently, and Shilpa, I haven't get any screens from you. Usman, even from you. Anu, I'm only getting responses from Shrikant, Sai and Rajita. Of course, sometimes Chandra. So I wanted everybody to practice, and fine if you do not get any doubt, but if there is any doubt, please get it clarified. Yeah. Okay, fine. So anything, you can just send it to me over WhatsApp, or you also have my email ID, I guess. So you can also do that to my email ID. Anything it is possible. I mean, anything is fine for me. So you just go through this if you wanted to understand more about it. Okay, fine then. We'll end up this session for today. Good day.